Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Just stunningly beautiful.
Thank you very much.
What tunings are you in first? You're in drop D, perhaps, or
But yeah, I think both of us are.
both
for
are in
Both
drop
in
D.
drop D.
this one, yeah.
And then with the tremolo that you were doing there at the beginning,
Yes.
the stamina required to do that.
Well, the good thing is that it's up to me. It's totally free, you know. So it's sort of. I'm actually really listening to Lenny's phrasing and just trying to respond, so it can create these little swells and
Yes.
add a little harmonic there as well, and sort of varies. It's a little bit different every time, and then it gets into a rhythmic.
Yeah. A fascinating technique that is tricky to keep going. Do you have any exercises to practice it? Tremolo like that?
Not really. You know, I mean that's. I think the good thing is that we're playing it all the time. So if we
It
weren't,
does keep
then
it up, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's sustaining itself for the
Right.
moment. But
Well, with that one, I mean, maybe we'll talk about it later on, but playing scales and things with the different right-hand finger combinations.
Right.
I don't know if I'm sure you did as well, but I'd play the. No, I know, but you do a PAMI, so
absolutely, yeah.
Mhm.
that's one you can practice scales
Yeah.
with that technique. Kind of harder on one string, actually. if you
Yeah,
can.
very tricky. Now, your brother's from Australia. What part of Australia?
We grew up in Melbourne.
In Melbourne.
As of a few years ago, we've sort of separated. So our parents are still there, but I've been in Adelaide for almost 6 years, and Lenny has been in Sydney for over a year now. So
Wonderful.
we meet on tour.
Good. Good. Are you out and about quite a bit? Are you on the road a lot away from home?
We are. A big part of the year is us being on the road, and we travel a lot around Australia. Obviously, that's
Mhm.
home, and we're there. Most of the year, but we're heading overseas. 2 or 3 times,
Yeah.
usually for little tours
Now,
outside as well.
Did you grow up in a musical family?
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
Mhm.
We had no choice. No, Mum and Dad, they're both musicians. They're both string players. Dad plays violin and Mum's a viola player. And
Mhm.
but Dad was also a drummer for many years, and Mum was a singer, and they had a band together, and both of them played a little bit of guitar, a little
Mhm.
bit, and so yeah, music is definitely it's part of the family.
What about formal classical training along the way? Did you go to university and study that?
No, we've definitely done things roundabout sort of a way, including as Lenny mentioned, having parents who taught us, and Dad was sort of there practicing with us every day, and not being a guitarist himself
Mhm.
was quite a strange
Yes.
learning experience. I mean, he never actually showed us how to do anything
Yep.
himself, so there was a lot of waiting around, waiting for videotapes to arrive from overseas, and watching, finding photos of right hand, left hand.
Mhm.
It was very kind of homemade.
Yeah.
We created our own little world, and it was only, I think, when I was about 12 or 13. Sorry, I started first. I'm 9 years older than Lenny. When I was about 12 or 13, I started getting to know other guitarists,
Mhm.
and that's when I first really found out about playing with nails
Mhm.
and development of tone, and the sort of things that Dad actually couldn't show me at all.
Yeah.
And then I did have regular lessons with other people for short bursts.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until I finished high school I moved overseas and studied with the great Jose Tomas in Spain. For all up it was for less than a year,
Mhm.
and then started travelling around and playing, and Lenny didn't have to do that. He just studied with Dad.
Wonderful. Well, along with the classical repertoire that you do, there's so much of a fusion with some jazz influences as well. What are some of the players that you were inspired from?
Oh goodness! I mean, it was really such a blank canvas that we had, and luckily we had parents who were classical musicians on the one hand, but who also loved jazz and rock and everything in between. The very first concert that I was ever taken to was the Pat Metheny group in Melbourne in 1985 when I was 9 years old, and that was literally the first time I stepped into a concert hall, and my mind was completely blown and torn apart.
Yeah.
And from then on, I was always listening to other things. Lenny had very much the same experience growing up, listening to all kinds of music, but practicing and learning pieces in a classical way. It was only later when we were both teenagers, I guess, at different stages, where we started improvising and playing in bands, playing electric guitar as well, and all that stuff that all guitarists do.
Yeah. Well, and along the way, you have had the opportunity to play in all kinds of wonderful places, the Sydney Opera House and Carnegie Hall, I heard somewhere.
Yeah. We're very lucky to kind of have this opportunity to travel and to play, to meet other amazing musicians and audiences. It's a very fortunate and lucky life, and we're incredibly grateful. And
That's
so
right.
many experiences outside of the sort of famous halls that are actually in some ways more resonant, and
Right.
we've had some wonderful moments with audiences.
We have just kind of come off of, in our world, our fingerstyle guitar retreat, and had many players there that were interested in learning classical guitar and not quite knowing where to start or what techniques to emphasize, things like that. What are some things that you think that both of you think would be a good direction for an intermediate guitar player to pursue if they wanted to pursue classical guitar?
That's a good question. The first thing for me that comes to mind is, I guess, the differences in technique. I guess with finger picking, generally, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the strokes are usually more up, away from the strings, whereas if people may have noticed, we're playing sort of into the guitar quite a lot with another stroke. So the stroke that finger pickers would use more is like free stroke, what we would call them in our world.
Yeah.
Or tirando.
Or tirando.
Some
yeah,
people
from
might be
like
familiar with
Yeah.
that.
but we use a lot of rest stroke technique. And
If you can, for those in our audience that may not be as familiar with free stroke and rest stroke and things like that, can you give us a little example of that? Maybe we could get a tight shot, guys, on the hand there to show the difference in the strokes.
Yeah, sure. So the free stroke is, as I mentioned, you're sort of plucking away from the guitar. So basically any time we're playing chords or anything like that, that's all.
Tremolo technique, that's all free
Right.
stroke.
So it's a very useful technique, of course, and I guess generally you can. It's used for melodic playing as well, but it's more common for accompaniment, I guess. The sound is once you hear the difference, it's a little bit weaker than when you play rest stroke.
And
So I'll play
right.
the same thing. So this is free stroke, a melody free stroke. So now rest stroke. So it's quite a much more rich sound.
And there's a center. There's more weight to each note.
And you're plucking into the next. You're resting against the
That's
adjacent
right. So
string.
the finger is you pluck and you rest on the string below.
Actually, people, watching electric bass players, when
Exactly.
They
that's
exclusively.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what
Yeah.
they don't play free stroke pretty
Yeah.
much unless they're playing chords as well. But when they're
Right.
playing those lines on the, on the second to bottom string and the
Right.
going up, it's always rest stroke.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, for us, pretty much whenever you hear us playing a melodic line,
Mhm.
we try and incorporate the rest stroke technique as much as possible. You get the most out of the
And
instrument.
And
that
it
way.
also has the role of dampening the string below.
Muting the string below,
Exactly.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
in terms of often there's resonance that you don't want, so it keeps
Mhm.
things really clean and direct.
And so a good way to practice that would be maybe scales or just trying doing
Absolutely.
simple melodic lines in the between the two of them. 'Cause there's slight adjustment in your wrist position for that, I would think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, everybody, of course, is different. Even if you see our right hands, they're a little bit different, sort of similar, but there are some differences. I guess a good, anyway, for me, the way that I always think about it is the less movement in this hand, the better. So if you can go between rest stroke, that's rest stroke, and free stroke. So my right hand hardly moves. So
Yeah.
if you can find an area like that where you can get between the two, it's much more
Well,
efficient. I guess.
obviously you don't want to do this with your hand as you're playing something
Right.
challenging. So that's the thing to practice when you're doing scales. First of all, you want your free stroke to sound as big and as rich as rest stroke,
Mm-hmm.
and minimizing the amount of right hand movement.
Wrist movement.
Yeah, I mean that's a really great thing to
It's,
think about.
It's interesting here in Nashville, not 10 minutes from where we're sitting. There are players down on Lower Broadway with Telecasters that are doing a motion that's much more up in there.
Absolutely,
And they're
yeah.
plucking.
Yep.
Still using a pick, but with using these other fingers as more of an upward motion, and with rolls and things like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
different techniques for different types
Totally,
of
and
playing.
that particular technique gets a crunch and a particular sort of zap out of the
Yeah.
sound that you can only do that way.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Okay, we've already got some wonderful questions there. Lee Candiotti is asking, some of your original compositions remind me of the band Oregon. Is Ralph Towner an influence?
That's a very astute question. Yeah, he certainly is. I mean, he was one of the guys that we first drawn to as kids. I mean, through for me through that concert, seeing Papathini Group, I discovered the ECM label, and eventually that took me to Ralph's music, who of course is older and was recording for them before Pat was.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden there was this guy playing this new music, improvising, but playing on our instrument, playing on a nylon string guitar. Of course, he's an amazing 12-string player as well, but hearing what he did on the nylon string guitar was what kind of made it resonate with me personally straight away. And then lo and behold, after many years we met, and we've been playing together for about 15 years now in a trio with a great Austrian guitarist, Wolfgang Mutschbiel. So we have a group. We've done a couple of records together, and
Really?
he's a very dear friend and still always a huge source of inspiration.
Wonderful. Mark Weiss is saying, maker of guitar, brand of strings. How often do you change strings? Let's talk about your instruments, your gorgeous sounding instruments there. What are you playing on today?
So they're both made by the same maker. They're Australian guitars. A guy called Jim Redgate, who lives just outside of Adelaide, and he's an incredible human being, first of all. But then he makes amazing instruments. And
Does he have a website, do you think?
he
he
does.
Yeah.
Just look up
What's his name?
Jim Redgate.
Jim Redgate.
Redgate.
Sure.
And he's he's definitely up there with some of the best classical makers in the world. A lot of great international artists use his instruments, and we've been playing them for about.
We've played his guitars for over 10 years now.
Yeah.
What's really unusual about him is that in the world of classical guitar, there are very different construction types. The concept is obviously always the same: 6 string. Well, for a normal standard guitar, 6 strings. They all sort of look like this. There's in more recent times there have been some modern ways of building guitars that have become very, very successful and prominent. So lattice top guitars, which are super light on top. Almost you could put your hand through it. They're that light, with carbon fiber to reinforce the strength. Very, very heavy on the back and sides. So a lattice top guitar. Double top guitars are another modern development that are also have a loud and very rich sound, and usually they're 2 very thin sheets of cedar or spruce with a layer of Nomex or another fancy modern substance in between. So it's like a sandwich.
It makes it very stiff. Makes it the top very strong.
Very stiff but very light.
And the sides are light. So
sides
basically it's the opposite of a lattice.
Yeah.
And the lattice is light on top, double top is...
And then there are traditional guitars. So the way, guitars have been built in Spain for the last 150 years. Jim unusually makes all 3 very, very well. So he has great players using his lattice top guitars, wonderful artists playing his double top instruments. We played them for a long time as well, and we still will, I'm sure, at some stage. But these are actually his completely traditional guitars, so based on 1960s Rodriguez instruments. The feeling in the general sort of classical guitar playing world is that Spanish traditional guitars aren't as loud as the new new ways of making them, but they have a tonal palette,
richness of tone,
and variety that's really special. And that for us the thing is we're amplifying most of the time in bigger rooms.
So you've got a pickup in that.
We do. We've got a B-band pickups in these. I've maybe in the last 3 years used it twice.
Yeah.
So
okay.
So
you don't
we're always
routinely.
it's there just in case we need to.
Yeah.
And if we're doing something unusual that needs some other effects or anything crazy like that, but usually we like to just mic with nice microphones.
Yeah. Wonderful. Brand of strings. I saw you had a relationship with Severas.
Yes, as of officially as of a few years ago.
Last year.
Last year, about a year and a half. Yeah, and we've used their strings for a lot longer, and
what size or weight or
these are what they've done recently, and this is what really appealed to us, is that they started the whole concept of mixing sets of strings and different tensions, different types of strings. They've started doing that themselves with their own strings. So at the moment these are Contiga basses and Alliance tops. So the trebles are actually a carbon, not a nylon, but a carbon string, and the basses are nylon with silver.
And then, as far as the tension,
these are normal.
Those are normal
tension.
Okay. Because I know some, sometimes, jazz players will kind of lean more toward hard tension.
Yes.
On that.
We have done that a lot.
Always used to as well. But I think with these instruments, for some reason, you can sort of get away with slightly easier tension.
Now, flamenco guys, that's a looser tension. They use the lighter tension, or I'm not as familiar with that style. I just don't know.
I'm not 100% sure either, but I know that the action is usually lower.
Yeah.
So a harder tension will feel a lot softer on a flamenco guitar.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that would make sense.
Wonderful. All right, one more question, and then we're gonna give some things away. John is asking, Oh, we didn't. How often do you change your strings?
Look, it really depends.
And you
on
guys are performing all the time too, so it does depend on whether you play an hour a week or
exactly, and
or,
it depends on how hot it is on stage. Because realistically the trebles, the trebles can last a long time, a lot longer than the basses.
Yeah, with the trebles really, and I feel my top it's starting
to go.
Yeah, you can feel there's a bit of roughness there, so that's that
in
means
the
it's
area where
time
you're
to,
hitting it.
to go. But if that wasn't there, then it could last for quite a long time.
Let's talk about your nails here, because I know we'll have questions about your nails as well. Real nails?
Yes. No, we don't have anything on them.
Mm-hmm.
So, hopefully a healthy diet, and it really it's something that is the bane of every classical
Yes.
guitarist's existence,
Yeah.
and other guitarists, of course, too. But you can't hide behind anything else. Like the shape of the nails, the tone that you can produce is all down
Right
to
there.
how they're feeling, and of course they change every single day.
Yes.
So if you play a hard gig, the next one you've got less to work with.
Yeah.
The shape is always changing.
Yeah.
If you're experimenting with new strings,
Yeah.
that'll change as well. So it's a constant, never-ending adventure.
Yes, it is. I can vouch for that. All right. Well, we'll let you catch your breath for just a second. Let's give something away. We were just talking about strings, so let's give some strings away. One of our amazing sponsors for our fingerstyle event was DR Strings. So they had graciously provided some steel string, acoustic guitar strings. So someone is about to win one of these. The winner of these great DR strings is John Keegan. John, congratulations. Hey, John, send me your information at service@mightyoakmusic.com. Address, screen name, what you won, things like that, and we will get these out to you guys. Wonderful. We wanted to also mention, we have been talking about this guitar tool kit for the last month. We had our fall fingerstyle thing, and so we were kind of out when it was supposed to end, so we kind of left it up for another week, but tonight's the last night. If you are interested for electric guitar players, not much of use, I would think, for the classical guitar guys, but for the electric guys, if you're looking for a great toolkit, this is the best one that I have found for adjusting, the jacks on your input jacks. This one goes for a Telecaster, jacks on your pedals, things like that, as well as all the little inputs. If you need to adjust your saddle or your bridge, anything like that. Even has a knob puller, which is really great. So if you're interested in this, we've got this. Tonight's the last night on this. So if you're interested, check that out. The guys will put up the link for that. Yep. Thank you, Neil, for doing
I've
that.
got Tool Envy right now. That looks great.
It is a great little,
really nice.
Great little toolkit
Yeah.
that I use all the time. It is really handy. It fits in your guitar case too. I've got one in mine as well, and use the dumb thing all the time because I got tired of having to go out to, try and find some tool box and something you would work on the car, and you're trying to fix your jack on your instrument. So, anyway, it's great. Check that out. Tonight will be the last night for that. Hey, if you're interested, we've got our summer guitar. Now that our fall guitar retreat is done, the next one on the agenda is our summer 2020. Gosh, that sounds like forever away, but it's coming up on us, the new year. And you can go to guitargathering2020.com and take a look at our summer conference that we have. We've got Joe Robinson, who I know
Great.
y'all have worked with before. In fact, I saw an amazing video of Joe and you, I think, playing Spain.
Yes.
Oh gosh,
In
that was
Australia,
incredible.
Yeah. Thank you.
Byron, I think you sent me that video, and it was just amazing. I didn't realize the connection, and I thought, oh well, Joe, we see Joe all the time.
Our mutual godfather being Tommy Emmanuel, of course.
Yes.
Supported and helped all of us when we were really young.
I saw on Joe's Facebook page that he got engaged this past week, so I was
We
so
heard.
thrilled
Yeah,
for
amazing.
him. Yes,
Yeah.
very.
Congratulations.
Couldn't have happened to a more nicer guy. It's great. So anyway, so Joe Robinson's going to be with us, as well as David Greer, Grammy-winning flat-picking bluegrass player, amazing player. I think he's got 4 Grammys on his mantle. Incredible player. And then we have just confirmed that Robin Ford is going to be with us as well to do blues. So, wow. I'll put that line up against any guitar.
Where do we sign up?
Guitar conference around. This is going to be a good one. So we've got all kinds of styles represented there. We've got fingerstyle stuff. We've got flat picking, bluegrass, blues. We've got hymns and worship stuff. We've got jam groups. There's all sorts of fun things that happen. Check it out at guitargathering2020.com. You can get all the information there. If you go to fingerstyleretreat.com, you can see I've already got all the information up for our next fall fingerstyle retreat. A year from now, and we've already got 25% of the slots are already filled. Our special guest for that one, I'm so thrilled to introduce you guys to Clive Carroll. And Clive is going to be with us for our fall fingerstyle retreat. And then Antoine Dufour from our good friends over at Candy Rat Records is going to be with us as well. So those are our guests for our fall fingerstyle retreat. So if you're interested in any of the fun things that we do with those, please check them out. Check them out. Speaking of some of our fingerstyle things, well, I wanted to give away a couple of CDs. Unfortunately, I didn't get them out of my bag. But Candy Rat Records, our good friends Rob Poland and those guys sent us over a bunch of CDs for our fingerstyle retreat. So I'm going to give away 2 of them. Unfortunately, I don't have them in my bag, so I can't show them to you. But someone is about to win 2 of our fingerstyle CDs. That winner is coming. We have our top people picking it out right now. Oh, that's a good one. Aussie Muso, you have just won these 2 CDs. I will send them out to you, Aussie Muso. Great finger style CDs. So congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
All right, enough of me yabbering on. Can you play us something else?
Sure.
What are you going to play for us?
I don't know. What do you want to play?
I don't know. What do you want to play?
Should we play one of your tunes?
Yeah.
Which one? It's up to you.
I am thoroughly enjoying your iPads.
Wow,
and
this-
you're using the
we've-
Blue Turn
We've got
to use it?
these blue turn page turners, so
Fantastic.
we've got hundreds of hours of music
Yeah.
that we can travel with, and it's all backed up in the cloud, and
Yeah.
it's an amazing.
So as long as
resource.
you have internet,
Well,
or can you do it without internet? You're just Bluetoothing.
We're Bluetoothing these.
Okay.
But it's backed up there.
It's all
so
backed up.
It is backed
all
up,
the
okay.
music is backed up, so even if something
Yeah.
bad were to happen,
Yeah.
we could quickly find an alternative.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Blues for us.
Sure.
This is probably a little bit dangerous right now. It's I don't know if our fingers are really up for it, but it's topical, so we'll go with that.
Good.
This is a piece that I composed a few years ago now. Actually, it started off as a solo piece. And it's called Blues for Ralph. So
Mhm.
it's my dedication to Ralph Towner,
Mm-hmm.
who, of course, for me, is also a huge influence. And it is a blues. It's a very kind of twisted blues. If you listen really closely, it's somewhere in there.
Good.
And it is Ralph, for people that don't know, he has quite a few different sort of, within his own music, a few different genres or styles. I don't know how to explain it, but the different elements of Ralph, and this is definitely, for people that know his music well, they'll be able to
Recognize this.
recognize this, I think.
Wonderful.
So yeah, blues for Ralph.
We normally play that one closer to the end of a gig.
Yeah, it's probably in hindsight. Too many notes for now. Yeah.
Stunning. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Wow. Okay, we've had a couple of questions come in there. Jeff is asking, any exercises that you would recommend for a beginner to help develop finger independence in this style?
Yeah, it's the hard thing. There's I guess a lot of things that you can do, but scales are really important. You know, for us, what we have done since we were kids, you always play scales with all different finger combinations.
So right hand
finger, and left hand finger. But yeah, in this case, the right hand. So you'll play index finger, middle finger, then the other way around, middle finger, index finger, ring finger, then swap them around, then middle and ring, and basically all the different combinations that you can possibly think of, you'll incorporate into something simple. I mean, it doesn't have to be a scale. It can be anything. It can be, I also like playing things on one string. that could be
Right.
a good thing for in the beginning, so you're not kind of worried about crossing strings or anything like that. So that would be the first really important sort of exercise.
Yeah.
Just really slowly. And going through all the different finger combinations. Rest stroke, experimenting with that, and then free stroke.
Doing the same thing, free
Doing
stroke.
the exact same thing, free stroke. Always thinking about sound. Trying to produce
the tone that you're making.
the tone.
Yeah.
The best possible tone that you can make it at all times. And also, this applies to, I think, all guitar playing, but particularly classical. It's something that you have to do all the time, is really trying to connect notes as much as possible.
Yeah.
With melodies and chords as well. Like, you never really want to hear a break in the sound unless it's sort of intentional. So that's with scales as well. That's another thing.
That's the hardest thing to
That
do,
is.
and that's the thing that when you're listening to guitarists, and especially historically speaking, that's something that wasn't done as much in the past, but it really is happening more and more. The sort of the connection between notes, the legato that guitarists are able to achieve has always been.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to do on this instrument.
It's one of the hardest things.
That's right. I remember we were talking with Russ Barenberg, just a legendary flat-picking Americana guitarist, and he had a comment one time. He said, "Pay more attention to the end of your notes than the beginning of your notes. Pay attention to where notes end and how they are connecting with each other."
Absolutely.
It's a big thing, and always kind of bringing it back and incorporating that into something very simple is the best way of learning how to do that. So again, in terms of scales, that's another thing to always listen out for, that kind of getting the connection as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
There was another exercise that we used to and still do a bit. It's something that I've revisited over the years. The Calavaro exercises. That's more from a free stroke sort of
Right hand.
And show us that. So we know.
So they kind of. This is probably one of this book, by the way. It has, I don't know.
What's the name of it again?
The composer is named Abel Carlevaro.
Okay.
You can maybe write it down or something if we want afterwards. But basically, it's this exercise, but 200 different sort of variants, all different combinations of fingers, and it, they get sort of more advanced, of course, but this is sort of the sound and one of the easiest ones. So it's basically the coordination between the thumb and the other fingers.
It's so relevant to so many pieces that you will end up playing.
I'm familiar with the Giuliani exercises with that. I was not familiar with that one, so that's wonderful.
He was a Uruguayan
so.
Yeah.
composer, but he's got a lot of technical books as well, and it was really great. Like, it's really sort of getting that independence happening, particularly with the thumb. So like another exercise would be like two thumbs.
Pop, 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 pop.
Tough.
Yeah, and then they
tricky.
get really, really tricky, and it's one of those things. It'll take. It's a thing that you can do forever, and you can
Go
always
back to the start
revisit
and start doing again. But the etudes, any etudes.
Yeah.
I mean, whether the Giuliani or Carcassi through to modern composers, Villa-Lobos, Brau, Calavaro. I mean, they're great because they're usually short. They're focusing on one particular
specific
thing. So
yeah.
you can start off by really just working on a line in one of those. Don't even look at the whole thing, but just figuring out what it is that we need to, what bridge we need to cross with this, and just work on that, and then play the whole thing. This is going to set you up beautifully for a piece when that technique comes up.
Wonderful.
And so the other thing as well is that, for me, it was something that I realized, a little while ago, is sort of, technical exercise should be still a creative experience. So, once you know a scale, that's it. You can't, it's still good to play scales, but you basically, know it. So I always think that it's great to, if you're learning a new piece, if there's a little section that is difficult, try and come up with an exercise, your own exercise, anything that you think might help with that spot. I think it's one of those things where a teacher can give you all the materials, but I think if you come up with something that works for yourself and you're creative in that way, always trying to create new sort of ideas, technique ideas, that's kind of the best way of learning, I think.
If you can, be a student of your mistakes, never waste a mistake.
Exactly.
If you've tripped over something, just analyze, why did I trip over that? Is it a fingering thing? Why did I trip over? Then once you kind of focus on the problem. Okay, that's the problem. Then you can build a simple exercise.
And you turn it into a fun challenge that within a very short time that it becomes your strong point, your strength, as opposed to an area that was weak before. It's a fantastic way of.
And that's the thing. Once you get that well and start playing that well, then it'll evolve and you'll find another bit that's harder and you'll create another exercise. And the technical thing, I think, is a real evolution. Like technique never ends. You know, and all the best players are sort of older guys like Pat Metheny's a great example. I think his technique is better now than it ever was, and I'm sure that's exactly what he's always thinking about.
Doug is asking, what program app are you using on the iPad to run the music? Do you know?
It's called Fourscore. Fourscore, yep.
Okay.
And we save everything up on Dropbox, and there's a really easy connection between Fourscore and Dropbox, and so you can go into one program from the other.
Now, is it just reading basically a PDF, or do you have the ability to make a little notation in it?
You can write all over it.
Really?
And use different colors and highlighters, and
it'll remember all of the.
It remembers it all.
Yeah.
And you can save that back
as a PDF,
onto your, save it as a PDF back up to the cloud.
Neil is asking, do you listen to other styles of music as well? I would assume, of course, yes. And if so, what do you like? Who are some of the major influences?
There's so much.
Tricky.
There is so much. We talked about some of the, ECM influences. There are obviously lots of great, jazz players. Everyone from Joe Pass to, and Django and Charlie Christian through to Alan Holdsworth.
Who are some, just even right now, who are some players that are fascinating you?
I've been really getting into what Julian Lage is doing.
Great.
Like in recent.
Beautiful stuff.
Well, always I've loved him in Gary Burton's group, but I think especially now the sort of, he's really finding an incredible voice for himself. That it's very American. And it's this gorgeous, beautiful sound that an atmosphere that he's creating with these amazing chops that he has.
Yeah. Anybody come to mind for you that you're currently listening to and fascinated with what they're doing?
It's always changing, but in the last few years, guys like the Punch Brothers and all that sort of stuff. It's kind of. I don't like the bluegrass thing for me. It's never really been an influence, but just because it was never sort of surrounded by it. But then after listening to guys like that, like Chris Thiele and all those dudes,
brilliant.
Yeah, they're incredible. And then that opens up a world of all the sort of the older guys as well, and it's definitely a big influence.
They're a great example of how you can sort of they're a roadmap between genres. There's the best of classical ensemble chamber music playing. There's obviously incredible jazz in there as well, and everything in between, and songwriting and the energy of rock and roll band, and,
Yeah.
everything.
Amazing. I love it.
Mhm.
Love it. Well, it's time for us to land this ship. Let me give a couple of announcements here, and then if y'all would play us out, that would be great. We will have a live lesson next week back on our normal Tuesday night, and I'm excited to have back with us the Belmont Guitar Ensemble, just one of our favorite. I think this will be the third or fourth time that we've had them, and they're just one of our favorites as the group comes by. And they will be by next Tuesday to share their latest semester's worth of magic and all kinds of classical guitar and different groupings. And our good friend Robert Thompson, who is here tonight, will be leading them, and it's going to be a great time. So check it out. That'll be next Tuesday. Of course, we will not have a live lesson tomorrow night because I've got a booked a rehearsal for that. So I'm going to be out, but we'll be on for next week with Belmont's Guitar Ensemble. Hey, if you're interested in some of the retreats and conferences that we offer, check those out, guitargathering2020.com or the fingerstyleretreat.com, and that'll get you to some of those information resources. Hey, if you're interested in the toolkit, check that out. All of those things help support, help keep the lights on our little shindig here. Hey, another one of our great sponsors that gave us some great things is Fishman. We love our guys over at Fishman. Chris, appreciate you so much for all that you have done to support us. The sound system that we had at the Fall Fingerstyle Retreat was killer. It was just amazing. Don Ross was just knocking it out of the park, and that system sounded great. Thank you, Fishman, for that. They also provided everyone that came to the retreat a tuner. So somebody else, we've had a few left over, so somebody's about to win one of these Fishman clip-on tuners. The winner of that is coming. The winner of that is Tunes from Carson. Tunes from Carson. Hey, send me your information. Congratulations, you've just won this little tuner. Hey, send me your information at service@mightyoakmusic.com. All of our winners tonight, Aussie Muso and whoever was the first winner there, send me your information, service@mightyoakmusic.com, your address, and so we will get these things out to you as well. I want to thank our producer, Stephen Quinn, and then Connor, who has been just doing great work with our chat and keeping up with everything as well. Of course, thank you guys so much for your time
Thank you.
and
Thanks for
brilliant
having
playing.
us.
Can you close us out with a song?
Sure.
What are you going to
Well,
do?
this is a bit different. This is a piece from a few albums ago, and it's a beautiful classical composition by the great Czech composer Dvořák, and a piece of his that Dad actually arranged for us, and it's called Songs My Mother Taught Me.
If folks want to get to know you guys better and keep up with your touring schedule, where can they get more information?
Our website is the best place, so it's just GrigoryanBrothers.com, and we have a Facebook page, and we've recently started doing things with Instagram as well, so trying to keep up.
Good.
With the kids.
Yeah, I know you're at Belmont Mansion tomorrow night,
Yes.
and then where I know you're off in various directions. Give the guys a little
I'm
hint of where-
heading back home to Australia after tomorrow night's gig. Lenny's heading to Spain for a few weeks, and we meet up again on about the 8th of December in India. We've got a week of shows in India, which we're looking forward to heading back there. It's been a few years since we've been there. It's always a very inspiring place.
Wow. Thank you so much for being here with us. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A
Thank
joy
you.
to have you both.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you
Thank
so
sir.
much.
Thank you.
Keep up the great work in your own learning, and we will see you all next time.